In this episode of the podcast, it's a compilation. So, one is a private label clip. The second one is about running your business on cash. The third is about the Amazon Influencer Program. The fourth is about Walmart. Wanted to cover all the different areas for you guys. We'll be back with new episodes starting the following week. We're both just off this week. Trying to get guests has been hard. So we wanted to put together clips of the best or some of the stuff we found the most. So enjoy it. Some of this, if you listen to every episode, listen to this one. Just get it as a reminder because the stuff that we picked out for you is definitely good and will help you in 2025. Happy New Year. We're looking forward to connecting with you guys in the new year. And enjoy. Happy holidays, all that good stuff. Let's get into it.
He is not the end all be all. Yes, I started my career there. It's where I found my first success. But the moment I uncovered the M&A game and the multiple arbitrage game, it motivated me to say, hey, Amazon has been a springboard to trampoline me from where I am to where I'm trying to get to, which is business mogul status. And yes, I happen to start with Amazon. But I don't want to live and breathe and die Amazon FBA because it's just a journey to get started. It's a way to win and then leverage that to the real game. Because if you're not playing the real game with the banks and larger businesses who are buying up other companies in the private equity game, that's where you win. It's M&A. You make the millions. You're buying up businesses. That's what I want to be involved in. And so I'm studying right now private equity. I'm going back to my roots. I'm reading books again. Let me understand how these guys made billions so that I can apply that to make hopefully tens of millions. And eventually, by 50, I want to be a billionaire. So let me at least have the same knowledge that they have, that they're writing down in a book of all the stuff that they've learned, and I can read it in 2.5 hours. Like, why would I not do that?
Yeah, 100%. I want you to speak a little bit more on the saturation stuff that you were talking about, because I quit Amazon a year ago because of literally all this stuff you're saying. I feel like a lot of people thought that I was, I don't know, coping or whatever. And I just was trying to explain. I try to explain all the time how the saturation stuff works in all these industries. And like, if you get into one of these short-term things, like logistically, the only way it can go is getting saturated just due to the nature of it. But can you speak more on that and like how that actually works? Because I think right now we have mostly arbitrage listeners. I bet a lot of people are pretty scared right now about what arbitrage, everything that's going on. Maybe they didn't listen to me for the last year, but obviously you're a bit more high level with this business stuff. So maybe they'll listen to you, but explain kind of the short-term nature and why this stuff happens. Like, you don't have to trust us. We'll explain to you how this actually works.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, there's only a finite amount of demand for products. Amazon is huge, but the gurus have been telling you now for X number of years that you can just sell the same product that already has demand, that is everyone else has access to, and you can build yourself a successful business. Successful business, I say. Okay. What I see happening is we're increasing the supply of sellers, but who's increasing the supply and the demand of buyers? That's just Amazon. Okay, how fast is Amazon growing? 10% a year? I don't know what it is. Like, you guys might know the numbers better than me. But how fast is the number of sellers selling the same exact product increasing? Because they've been told it's easy. And so what I hate about it is that the guru says this is a proven business model. You're like Walmart. Walmart goes out and they buy stuff for one price and they sell it somewhere else. And it makes sense to people who haven't really thought through it or haven't seen it for their own, haven't seen it for themselves. And that's frustrating to me because, like, people are just being duped out of money. And then the account deactivations start happening. And you're like, okay, I've been saying this. Like, is it okay to say I told you so at this point in time when everyone's kind of like frantically screaming and like, I got $200,000. I'm 20 years old. Like, first off, dude, congrats, you had $200,000 in the first place. Like, you're fucking killing it. You can go do it again. But yeah, your whole life is now tied up because you positioned somewhere where you were not in control. You were never in control. Amazon can turn you off whenever you want because, frankly, what you're doing, you aren't allowed to do. People say that, oh, we operate within Amazon's terms of service. Okay, Amazon terms of service says that me as the brand owner, I must give you express written permission to sell my brand on Amazon. How many people have a letter from Nike telling them that they can sell Nike shoes on Amazon? Nobody, right? So everyone's coming into this they're ungating themselves with these tools and tactics, and it's all these hacks that they're using to ungate themselves in categories to go sell stuff that they aren't allowed to sell. And then they're crying when their business gets turned off by Amazon because they were doing what they weren't supposed to do in the first place. It's frustrating to watch. And it's even more frustrating when it's not even what they're selling that gets them hung up. It's the item that they use to ungate the category that they bought from a guru, that item is taken down and takes hundreds of accounts that use that item to ungate down with them. And now you're trying to prove to Amazon that you legitimately bought the product that you never bought, that you just said you bought and had so that you could ungate it in the category. And they're like, I never sold this product. I'm like, that's not the problem. You told them that you were going to sell this product to get ungated in the category that you weren't supposed to be selling it in the first place. It's so problematic. So that's, you're not in control. The saturation is that we're only increasing the supply, we're not increasing the demand, and eventually everyone's going to make less money. We've touched on the fact that every deal you find has a life cycle. Every product you find has a life cycle. And look, if you're going to make a couple $1 million in the process, go for it. But don't act like you were entitled to what you had because you positioned in a short-term model that was not sustainable from the get-go. But here's what I know. If you position somewhere that is a long-term model that you have staying power in because you own what you sell and you own your position, then now it's just between you, time, and your marketing for you to be successful. You have time to figure this thing out. I hate the fact that some of the smartest people get duped into arbitrage or wholesale before they ever hear about private label. And they say, oh, I'm working towards that. Okay, the best time to start for you was like today. Because you think and you start to feel safe. These Amazon sellers walk on the edge of a cliff, and then they forget the cliff is there. And then when they fall off, as they're falling down to their death, they're like, oh my God, like what's happening to me? It's like, you knew what you got yourself into. You knew that this could happen, but you got more and more confident that it was just never going to happen to you. Oh, bad things only happen to other people. Well, for arbitrage sellers, I promise you this, it's just a matter of time before it happens to you. Look, as a brand owner, I know how this process works. It might be Amazon that gets you, but guess what? It might be me that gets you. Because if you want to come and sell one of my brands and say, oh, you sell to distributors, I can find it cheaper than what you're selling on Amazon for. There's arbitrage to be had, therefore I'm going to come in and get it. Guess what? I have Amazon Project Zero, which makes me a bit of a god status for my brands. I don't have to go to Amazon and ask them to remove your listing and ding your account. I can do it myself. I log into my portal, I find your listing, and I say, nope, get them out of here. That's it. And all you get is an email that says, like, you've been accused of counterfeiting our products or whatever that is. I hate to use that because we have another method that we use first, which is sending a letter out legally. And like when it comes to that point, I know the harm I'm causing to someone who is using Amazon for their sustenance, for their livelihood. So we always try to start amicably by sending a letter and making threats. And then at some point, I have to get your attention. And Amazon gives brand owners the power to grab your attention and say, yep, you're counterfeit. Boom, you're gone. Okay, now you have to prove to me or to Amazon that what you bought isn't counterfeit, which means that you have to show the full chain of custody all the way back to me for what you purchased. That's very difficult to do when you bought from some site that you learned how to do it, who bought from somebody else, who bought from a distributor, who then bought from me, and get chain of custody of all those invoices just to prove that you're not in the wrong. The problem is that the burden of proof is on you as the arbitrage seller to prove that you didn't do anything wrong, not for Amazon to prove that you did something wrong, because Amazon is not in the business of trying to arbitrate between like my brand and you and whether or not you can sell it. I'm the brand. I say you can't sell it. And Amazon says, okay, you can't sell it. Prove to me that you bought it the right way. I'll get your money back at least. But it's how you position is so important. And people breeze past this. They don't pay enough attention to it. And then they get burned. But if you go somewhere that you see everybody else rushing in, odds are you're going into saturation. If you go somewhere where the guru tells you, hey, this is easy. Anybody can do this. People on Twitter saying like, I went from 0 to 10,000. Anybody can do this. It's so simple. odds are it's going to get saturated. When people pour in, unless the demand is increasing at the same rate as the supply, that's the definition of saturation. And on Amazon, that's rampant. The same thing happened in drop shipping. The same thing happened. You name it, that's what's happening. And you see the mob on Twitter moving from one thing to the next. They're just oversaturating whatever they get involved in. And so I hinted on the fact that I see this happening in UGC right now. The days of a brand using influencers, people to influence their audience, who would come out for one or two brands, are so far gone, it's ridiculous. Because now everyone is an influencer, everyone can be an affiliate, and everyone's pushing somewhere between 3 and 15 brands. Because all they care about is getting that sale. It's just they're spamming their entire feed. So what happens is that the feed that used to be grandma and Aunt Sally and the friends you went to high school with, who were like, oh, like you came out for like these Nike shoes, fantastic. Like I'll go buy some Nike shoes. Like you must feel very passionate about that. Now everyone, every time they open up their Facebook feed, they don't even scroll through to see what their friends and family are because it's just a bunch of UGC content. I can get that on Reels. I'll just go watch Reels instead. So no one respects the influencer because there's no influencing happening anymore because every single post is an influence post. There's no authenticity that's happening. This is the death of the influencer. If you didn't hear about this, you heard it here first on the Side Hustle podcast. The UGC is dying, if not already close to dead. And the ugly head of it is this TikTok shop affiliate. And yeah, there's people making money, but I promise, every time something gets oversaturated, there's still people making money right before the demise. It's called the echo effect. The echo effect is when the smart people have already moved on somewhere else. Those marketers who are like, UGC ain't working anymore, let's move on. And they're even telling people like, this isn't going to work anymore. But it hasn't trickled all the way down, that echo effect, down to the people who are coming in who say, hey, this is still a great way to make money. So they're still seeing, hey, so-and-so's making $10,000 a month doing this, and I should go and do it too. And every stay-at-home mom who's like, hey, why would I do an MLM? I'll just do these influencer programs instead. The masses start pouring into it. Everyone gets into UGC. Now this echo reverberates, and all of a sudden, brands that need the influencers aren't getting sales anymore. The smart marketers have been gone for a long time. A few people were still making money, and everyone else was still aspirationally coming in to think that they could do it too. You've seen this story in every single pyramid scheme that's ever existed. The bigger it gets, the more the people at the bottom cannot make money because there's just not enough demand for them to get that money. The people at the top will continue to win because they were there first. So if you want to get involved in a multi-level marketing or a pyramid scheme, do my method and get there first. Okay, win at the top. But if you're not first, if you're not early to the ball game, you are part of the saturation and you will make nothing and you will probably end up losing money in the long run. So that's my take on saturation.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's probably, I don't hear a lot of people say that kind of stuff. I feel like I say it and it's just like I sound like a crazy person because I'm not as successful as you, but this is the same stuff I say, man. I love to hear it from somebody that's smart. It's like makes me vindicated a bit on my own. So I love to hear it.
Yeah. Hey, great minds think alike. Okay.
I've never heard it from the other aspect. It's like you have more like sellers coming in, but I've never heard the other side of it. It's like, well, the demand for those products is not going up. So now there's just, it's not the same way. So a question. So everyone, I don't know, it should be interesting that you've only been on Twitter a year and kind of what you're seeing, because it probably looks absolutely crazy. We've been on Twitter for, since we started. So we've seen it change. What do you think about the argument everyone's saying now? Oh, don't worry, you can't sell Nike, you can't sell Puma. There's a million other brands out there. Like, you should just you should do wholesale, brand direct wholesale, and work with the small and mid-sized brands. Because that's the new, what's being said. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'd be interested in your take on it.
Well, I mentioned I was on with Corey's group last week. And I think that what's being taught in that group right now is go for the smaller brands because there's a much higher chance that you'll exist longer to them. And I gave them a very clear message on that. I don't know if I'm supposed to share it or not because it was in the mastermind group, but I'll share it here. My message to them was, if you're going to be a wholesaler, be a value-added wholesaler and negotiate early on before you get results for that brand an equity stake so that effectively you become a private label seller of their brand. Because if you don't do that, just understand the brand, if you're a wholesaler, the brand, if you're arbitrage, always has to have a need for you or your business goes away. So the moment that they don't need you anymore, you don't have a business, which in my opinion means you never had a business. You were just the middleman between them and their customer. Now, what is the trajectory of these brands to realize that they don't need you? Until you get someone like me going out with a consulting offer, which by the way I'm doing, to brands that says, hey, right now you think Amazon is hard because you've been told that the fees are too high and you don't want to mess with that. So you like to sell your stuff by the pallet to distributors and resellers and let them handle that last mile delivery. Because I get it. You're a 3, 4, 5 person company. You don't have the bandwidth to start figuring out a brand new sales channel. Even though you hear about 180 million Prime members, you've already got that figured out. Okay, what's your profit margin? How much money are you making? Are you operating at 20% net? Because if that's the case, what if you could operate at 20% net, but the revenue was 3 times what your revenue is today? And see, that's the only sales pitch a brand needs to hear for them to realize, because again, we have all the data, we have all the research, and I can come to them and say, you know, how much of your brand did you sell on Amazon last year? And they go, I can pull up my books. Hold on, let me look at this here. Yeah, I sold $450,000 on Amazon. I go, no. See, $450,000 to you is $1.5 million of Amazon sales. You got paid on the 450. I'm telling you, you should get paid on the 1.5. So you make 20% profit margins. Okay, you made 80K. That could have been 300K if you sold it yourself with the same profit margins. And so I've done that. I can show you how to do that. And a consulting offer is now born. Oh, well, we don't want to go and learn this stuff ourselves. Okay, hold on. I'll do it for you for 6 months, and then I'll hire you a team to do it the same way I did it for my own business who only sold wholesale the first time. You see how simple that becomes? Where it's, here's a problem that you have. You're missing out on dollars that you're just giving away to a kid in his underwear who took one course and is now selling your stuff that he bought from a distributor. He buys it for $80, he sells it for $150, does nothing for it. That's easy. Is that person adding value to you as the brand? When I come to them and say that, you know what the answer is? How much does it cost to work with you so that we can recoup that and build our own team in-house? Because when I tell them you need one person in the States, probably a 3-person team in the Philippines, if that, depending on how many SKUs you have, and all of a sudden now, without you doing anything more than you do today, Mr. Brand Owner, you are now receiving 3, 4 times the profits that you were getting before from the Amazon sales. Now, the beauty of all of this is that I can show them, this is how much your brand sold on Amazon last year. Are you aware that it sold for that much? Okay. All the things you think it took to sell for that are not true. It's actually pretty simple. In fact, these resellers built this for you. Now, as a reseller, you hear me say that, you should be shaking in your boots, because what you didn't realize you were doing when you were buying from a brand that had a 1,000 case pack and tearing it down into 10 packs and 100 packs and 500 packs is you were proving to the brand, these are the SKUs that you should be selling to be successful on Amazon. Now, as a brand, all I have to do is say, hey, what's your ASIN? Copy, paste, add inventory. Your business is done as a reseller. It's that simple. They just don't know it's that simple yet. So any reseller positions there is now competing with my consulting offer. And for the advice that Corey's given, I think it's sound. It's a way for you to extend the timeline and the life cycle, because the smaller brands are not the ones that Steve's maybe starting with. Maybe I'm going to the bigger brands who are out there who are saying, hey, you sold $20 million on Amazon. Like, did you realize you're leaving $2 million on the table that could be in your pocket instead? So is the life cycle longer there? Yes. But at the end of the day, this world becomes easier and easier. There's a generation of people who are retiring and selling their businesses to private equity firms or people like me who buy them and are looking for ways to increase the profits without having to increase the sales. See, that's the trick. Can I maintain the same amount that I'm selling and just have higher margins in it? Well, I might have just 2x the business. By doing that, I can flip it off and make millions in the process. So when someone comes in with that type of knowledge, that is what makes it unsafe for you to continue to do arbitrage and wholesale. And just realize you are building up my business by continuing to do arbitrage, because you're building the playbook for me to come to the brands that you buy your stuff from and tell them, hey, look, I'm not going to come to you like every other agency and say I'm going to do all this amazing marketing and I know Amazon's algorithm. And look, I know that stuff, but I don't want to promise somebody that. Here's what I can promise them, though. Today, you sell this much, and here's the demand for your product. That's probably not going to change. And if it moves one way or another, plus or minus 10%, like that's outside of our control. We'll do what we can on the marketing side. But these are guaranteed sales of your brand that you're only appreciating a little bit of the profit margin from. When the brand hears that, your wholesale business is dead. So this is a forewarning, by the way. Steve's consulting business starts in February. So there will be webinars, there will be a sales team, and we're coming for your brands.
Well, I'm interested. You haven't mentioned this yet, which I'm surprised. And maybe I'm about to give you some good marketing material, or maybe you can prove me wrong on this. But I said a long time ago, I would take these consulting things with OA sellers and RA sellers, and I would say, stay away from beauty, stay away from grocery, because that stuff can hurt people. And as soon as your product hurts somebody else, or the brands find out that their fake products are hurting someone, they're going to shut that stuff down immediately. That's already happened with beauty. I was saying that a year and a half ago. So what do you think about that? Is that what you think another direction things are going to go in is, oh, wow, these kids are selling fake stuff. It's hurting customers, and they don't know they're buying from some kid. They think they're buying from us. It takes one TikTok and probably ruin your brand.
Yep. That is half the sales pitch right there. Yep. On one side, I have to entice greed of someone to make change. Hey, you can make 3 times the money you're making today. The bigger thing that I found brand owners care about way more is the customer experience and the brand reputation. Because if you can control that, you do. And when you realize that a lot of things happen, not only are you as the brand warranting the product, regardless of who sold it, it's got your name on it, they're coming to you if they have a problem. So you want to control that supply chain to make sure that everyone has a good experience. But you also have concerns about pricing consistency. You guys have seen this game for a while. What happens in these price wars? 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny, all the way down to 0. So now there's no consistency of the price for customers who get fed up with your product because they don't know that it's not coming from you. The customers are not savvy to know who they're buying from. They see 37 offers and say, well, which one's the cheapest and gets here the fastest? I'll take that one. I trust this brand, so it's going to come in great condition regardless. Well, when it doesn't, and then when they go back to buy it again, if they had a good experience the first time, and it's $20 more, they're kind of like, well, what the fuck? Like, why is your brand fluctuating so much all the time? That marketing experience is even more important because resellers inherently don't care about your brand the way that you do if you're a brand owner. I'm just trying to move some product. I just want to get a return on my investment. Why am I going to go pay a bunch of money to go make a beautiful listing for these products? I know it's got a life cycle. I'm moving on to the next one after that. Also, and more importantly, I've got case study after case study that shows that resellers rarely, if ever, will invest in Amazon PPC advertising. How do brands grow on Amazon? Through PPC advertising. So if you want your brand to grow, you need to have someone selling the product on the platform that actually wants to grow your brand and is willing to put their hard-earned dollars out of their pocket, give it to Amazon, and say, market this to people. Let's increase the supply. Let's increase the demand and not just increase the supply of sellers. I'm going to market and make the product audience bigger. The case studies that I have show for the brands who were not advertising and just selling through resellers, get this, 10x the size of the brand 5 years later. 10x, because they weren't advertising and then they were advertising and doing that over time. See, the brand owners are not savvy to Amazon today. They know people are having a rough experience, but they're making decent money. They're making 20% margin, and it's like, hey, I sell a pallet here, it's there, it's easy for me. But when you have a consultant that comes to them and says, number one, your customer is having a terrible experience with you on the largest e-commerce platform in the world. How do I know that? Because there's 37 sellers on that listing. I know they're having a terrible experience. And number two, you're only getting 25% of the profit that you should get because it's being given away to not people who are smarter than you, who work harder than you, but they took a $200 course when they were sold on this is super easy. We're suckering these brands in, and you just grab their product and sell it to somebody else and like laugh all the way to the bank. Arbitragers are making a fool out of brands. The brands just haven't felt that yet because there's that go-between. There's that distributor between them and the brand. So this consulting offer is to expand their vision and open their eyes to the fact that customer experience you care about. Hey, by the way, no one will ever care about your brand more than you do. That means, shouldn't you be the one to approve the listing that goes on Amazon? Shouldn't you approve that pricing structure and have it never change unless you implement a price increase and there's a strategy associated with that? Shouldn't you decide how much money you want to put into the advertising campaigns to grow that brand over time? Look, I think Amazon 5 years from now is going to only have brands selling on the platform. That's my bold prediction. I don't think there's going to be reselling anymore. Part of it's going to be warranty issues, but part of it's going to be that brands find it so simple to do what other people have done for them. There's going to be enough offers like mine out there saying, hey, why would you give any profit away to anyone? You don't have to do the work yourself. I'll hire the team for you that will come in and do this work for you. So I might be a fool on that. Pull this tape back in 2029. And let's see if it's not still brands that are selling on Amazon. But I believe that to be the case because why wouldn't it be? Markets get more efficient over time. And a perfectly efficient market on Amazon is the brand selling on Amazon to the customers that want to buy that product themselves without having a bunch of vultures and middlemen in between. Now, wholesale still sexy over here because all the arbitrage is getting taken out right now. But guess what? They're coming for wholesalers next. I'm coming for wholesalers next. If Amazon doesn't get you, I'm going to get you. So you're on a life cycle right now. You just don't realize it. Now, can you make millions of dollars between now and then? I bet you some people can and will. Corey certainly will. He's a brilliant guy. He's going to kill it. His group has a lot of brilliant people. They're going to kill it. But for everyone else who's out there just trying to figure it out and they're not really running a value-added business, you're going to get beat. So why not take that intellect and position yourself where you own what you sell if you want to be in a product business? You're not Walmart. No guru telling you that you're Walmart is going to make you Walmart. Just because you say it's the same business model as Walmart, it's like I have the same business model as Costco. Like I have 3 members. It doesn't. Scale matters. Size matters. So I get stuck on this one a lot because I want to help people out, and I went on that mastermind to go and tell them what I think they should do. But I also know that, hey, like I am making a competing offer that's going to come to the same brands and tell them, like, don't sell to somebody else. Just do this yourself. There are thousands and thousands of qualified, competent Amazon specialists that operate out of the Philippines that make between $3 and $7 an hour who are lethal at what they do. You want to put maybe $100,000 into human capital, 1 person in the States, 3 people in the Philippines, and sell it all yourself? Why not? Excuse me.
I know we gotta let you go in a second, but one last question that I have is: since you know a lot about, you are a brand owner and you've been selling on Amazon for a long time, do you think everyone's hoping that this is a glitch by Amazon? The whole Nike regate, the Puma regate, all these big brands, you see it all on Twitter. It's a glitch. It's going to blow over. Do you think that is the case? Number one. And then number two, why did Amazon do this now? It's Q4. Why did they do that? Or just your thoughts on it.
Okay. So look, I'm not for anybody losing money. Let me preface what I'm about to say by saying this. If you're 20 years old and your inventory is tied up at Amazon right now, like I feel for you. You got sold a bill of false goods and like you're stuck with that and you're hurting right now and that sucks. But you positioned poorly. Maybe it wasn't your fault. Maybe somebody told you that it was a foolproof system, but you're stuck in this today. If you're someone who was operating cleanly in Amazon's terms of service, and you have a letter in your hand that says you can sell the brands that you were selling, you're safe. I've seen that happen. But I know that the majority of you are not. So do I hope it's a glitch for you? Kind of. Like, I don't want you to lose your money, but I also know that you're smart people and you'll move on to something better, and that this will be a great lesson learned. And you're 20 years old. Like, you have your whole life ahead of you. You figured this thing out. Now figure it out next time in a place that has staying power. That would be a great lesson to learn. As much as it would hurt today, that'd be a phenomenal lesson to learn. Now, do I think it's a glitch? No, I don't think it's a glitch. Look at the listings that this happened on. It didn't happen on listings where there was one seller. It happened on listings where there were 40 sellers. And I've been on the record this year a lot saying that I think Amazon is actively trying to reduce the number of sellers on these listings because they know it's a problem. The infighting that happens amongst, you don't need 40 people on a listing. That doesn't add value to Amazon's customer. Like, someone explained to me how having 40 sellers on a listing is valuable to Amazon's customer. I can only think of things that will go wrong, not things that will go well. I get having 3 sellers on a make sure we stay in stock, but 40 seems a little bit excessive. I don't think that Amazon is going to hurt in their revenues because of what they've done. Because they took down listings and they left half the sellers there to continue to sell. I think it was calculated. Sometimes it's bots. I don't think this one was bots. I don't think the bots are smart enough to do it this way, this surgically, and only take out some of the bad actors as a warning to everyone. Hey, like, we've got this power. Like, you're here, you're not abiding by what we said to abide by, and our brands are complaining about the experience that you are giving people. Now, what I really think is going on here, and you saw this with Estee Lauder, you saw it with Nike, Amazon is kind of like me. Because if you're an arbitrage seller or a wholesale seller, Amazon is a wholesaler. They want to sell that brand for you if they possibly can. So you got me going out to brands telling them about how people are getting fucked over on their brand, they're leaving profit on the table. You got Amazon reps doing the same thing. They're talking to Nike. They're talking to Estee Lauder and saying, hey, this customer experience is suffering on the platform. Why don't you just sell it to us? And we'll take care of it for you. I think what you're seeing right now is a surgical decline of sellers on listings. And what you're going to see is all these brands that people were selling will either be replaced by the brand themselves, or Amazon will be the brand that replaces them. I am extremely confident that this is like a slow moving coup where Amazon's not coming out as being responsible for it, but they've gone dark. They're silent about it. Like, why are they so silent about this one? I think they stand to gain from having less sellers who don't add value to brands on their platform. And that's what's happening right now.
I 100% agree, man. I've been saying this for a while, and I think that this is what will happen too. I think people think Amazon is just Amazon, but Amazon's coming after Shopify. They're coming after Costco. They're coming after Netflix. If you look at their Prime Video stuff, they're like ahead of the game on that stuff too. I think this brand thing is just, how do we take Shopify's share? We already took eBay's. eBay's dead. How do we take Shopify? And that's making the place safe for brands, easy to use, easy to launch. Nobody's going to steal your stuff like that, and they'll take Shopify's market share, and that'll be it. I think that'll be what happens, just like you said, the next 5 years. I think we'll see. It'll be easier to launch a brand on Amazon, but not easy to resell on Amazon, if at all.
Yeah. I agree.
Well, close this out, John. I think that's it. We've maxed out the time here for you, but man,
being here. We'll definitely have to have you back. This was like one of my favorite episodes for sure. Where can everyone find you?
I am Roll with Steve anywhere you look, on any platform, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, across the board, and actively growing socials right now. And I do want to put a plug in for my free course. It's in the bio of all of my socials, so go check that out. There's no payment required at all, and it's great information for all of you whose businesses are dying right now. If you're in a short-term industry, I teach you what I know about how to build for the long term in a way that no one else is doing right now. I think using ChatGPT to a PhD level, which is great for anyone to know as well.
we would not just become these distant remote owners that nobody hears from anymore. Even though our manager, Jamie, she handles 95% of all operations, I still take care of kind of the bigger fires or the invoicing. Those are my two big roles now, and the marketing. So I fly up here every 8 to 10 weeks for usually about a week at a time, simply if it's just me to physically be here and mingle with the team. It's a pretty important piece for me as an owner and now as a boss to actually be involved with them, because I'm a big believer in you're not building the system and then plugging people into it. That's part of it, but ultimately your job is to focus on building the people, and the people will not just keep the business running, but also build on top of it.
Yeah. You talked about the marketing thing there. I think your marketing angle is that what you said about the not skipping the process, right? Like I didn't even know that prep centers did that. Was like, because I always thought it was a ping pong is a good way to put it, like you said.
Yeah.
Do you make that very well known? Because I feel like that is you're going to get some signups from that just from people listening to this. I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's something I talk with every client about when we first get an email. It's like, hey, I'm interested. Cool. Check out our website. I put everything, every possible question. I'm a big believer also in just putting everything transparently up front. Sadly, when you look at a lot of prep center websites, it's contact us for pricing. And it's like, you just lost a lot of people because most of us just want all of it right up front. So I put everything on the website, then they come through us, and I make sure they understand like your only job. My goal is to make your job as a client as simple as possible. That means that the only couple things you have to worry about are make sure your data is on our spreadsheet, which we use Airtable. And then make sure you're just available on the day of your shipment on Slack. Not that you have to sit here and watch the chat, but sometimes, especially with OA, we get damaged products quite often. Sometimes the product does not match the ASIN that was given to us. There might be a secondary ASIN that's a better fit. Different questions can pop up. So all you have to do is make sure the data is given to us on Airtable. Make sure that you're loosely available to answer questions on the day of your shipment via Slack, and then also take care of any type of returns that might happen as well. So sometimes we get these returns, especially damaged products. We send a clean, itemized list at the end of a shipment. Anything that had damage or was restricted, we'll send that list over to the client, and then they can attach shipping labels and give it back to us. And we do all of that, no extra cost.
Wow.
That is awesome.
That's insane.
Try to keep it as simple as possible. We've gone down the rabbit trail of complex. Does not work. There was actually one point where on paper was the best we were ever doing, because if anyone just looked at the piece of paper with the business on it, we had 14 employees. We were clearing 55,000 units per month. We were doing very well. But what you didn't see was the fact that Tristan and I were working 40, 50 hours a week each, just on the prep center, not even our own buying and selling. At that time, our accounts went down to zero because we just had no extra time. And this before we truly scaled out the staff and put an operations manager in place. We were the managers. And so everything ran through us. We were putting a lot of time, a lot of stress, a lot of energy, and we finally hit the brakes. So we actually got rid of some staff. We got rid of some clients. We downsized. And at that time, we just said, let's hit cruise control for like 6 months, like really take a good step back, figure out our systems, look at where the holes are in this boat, and let's see if we can do this properly. Then it was, we need an operations person. We cannot be the filter for everything anymore, especially if we want to ever buy and sell our own products again. We can't be the managers in charge. So we got a manager in place who had been with us since our garage days. She started out as taking photos in our garage a couple days a week for eBay stuff, and then she worked her way up to where she runs this whole Oregon operation now. So put her in charge of the whole place, got everything out of our heads onto a written down checklist form. That's where SOPs first became a thing for us. Really just creating systems is what it came down to, and plugging the right people in to operate those.
And why was it not duplicable in Texas? What was the problem there?
So the main one is our entire audience is online arbitrage, and Texas has 8.25% sales tax. Oh, yeah. So immediately that just like tanked a lot of people's operation if they were trying to ship down there, unless they can find the loopholes with getting reimbursed from your sales tax, which can, take a year sometimes. So a lot of loopholes people just didn't want to jump through, which I completely understand. So for us to be competitive down there and try to offset that extra sales tax, we were charging 70 cents per unit. And at a $7,000 overhead, and like I said earlier, I'm an open book. I can spit out whatever you guys want me to dump on you. But we had $7,000 overhead, and at 70 cents a unit, we had to do 10,000 units a month just to break even. That's before paying ourselves. That was two part-time employees at the time. And that was utilities. All the overhead was $7,000 just to keep it going before we ever talked about making money for ourselves or making profit. So at that point, we ran it for 2 years. We got some wholesale clients in, and that helped offset some stuff a lot because there was a lot more volume coming through. But at some point, we just looked at the whole thing, even though it may have been making money at some point, it no longer fit the lifestyle that we wanted. And that's something I became very, very aware of over these last 6 to 8 months as this whole operation was shut down. It took us 4 months to liquidate that warehouse. It was a lot of stuff. It was a lot of stuff inside of 3,500 square feet. So we ended up liquidating all the client stuff, getting back into just full-time sellers ourselves. We actually got storage units right next door to there. They're 25 foot deep each. They're indoors. They have power. They have lights. They're climate controlled. Can't even make this up. The storage unit actually has daily USPS pickups. So we actually can leave our packages at the front desk and they get picked up every day. $600 a month. So we started looking at that setup because Trista was calling around at these storage units. She's like, hey, I found something for 600. It might be exactly what we need. And we got rid of all the client stuff, just moved our own personal death pile at the time in there. And that's what we've been focused on ever since.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, I imagine that sales tax thing will basically make it impossible. But there is like every state has some prep centers and stuff. I see them all over the place.
For sure. Yeah. If I can go back and do it better, because now we know better, it definitely would have been not even trying at the online arbitrage marketing side, which is our entire audience. So I had no access to a wait list that had wholesale or private label sellers, which is what we want to focus on for sales tax states. You want people who are doing larger volume wholesale, which is where 70 cents per unit can make really good money if you're doing wholesale based operation. So you're doing quick, small products that you can turn out thousands per day and not even bat an eye, versus what we were doing, which is a lot more like 300 or 400 units that took all day because it's bubble wrapping and multi-packing and a lot of extra time. So at some point, we just looked at, does this even align with our lifestyle anymore? Which is, we love to travel. I want to be able to go back and forth. Texas sucks in the summer. It literally tries to kill everybody with 110 degrees every day. So we want to escape for the summer. And we did that this last July. We were up here for 5 weeks in Oregon and got to enjoy 90 degrees of beautiful Northwest. So that's a lifestyle we want. And we have 2 small children that we started homeschooling as well. And we just got sick and tired of dragging them to a warehouse every day. That was not a lifestyle I want them to be growing up with. We're in a society today, especially in this business, where go, hustle is the mentality. And it's comical because it's like, I'm Side Hustle Network, you have Side Hustle Experiment. Like, we're all about the hustle. But I got sick and tired, and same thing with my wife as well. But we got sick and tired of watching our kids start to absorb those habits, because we'd wake up in the morning, quick, get your stuff together, get your breakfast done. We got to get to the warehouse, and then we're go all day at the warehouse. And then, okay, get your stuff. We got to get home. We got to go do dinner. And then, okay, quickly get ready for bed. We can sit down for 30 minutes and watch a show, and then boom, it's bedtime. That's not a lifestyle I want them to grow up with. And that's something that we started becoming self-aware about ourselves. And we are very much living that. So we had no problem shutting the whole thing down and really focusing back on what matters most.
How do you go about calculating those trade-offs like that? Like, how do you, because it's not like it's easy to do it. You make it seems easy after the fact, right? But in the moment with these things, how do you go like, this matters more? Should I push through, that type of thing?
Yeah. And I'm a big believer in, everyone talks about like, what's the work-life balance? I've got 2 kids, multiple companies, like obviously time management is always a big conversation. I'm about tactics with time management when it comes to like, you got a time block and do all the scheduling stuff. Yes. But ultimately is it costing my peace of mind is the question I started asking. And that's how I view a trade-off now. And when it started weighing on us personally, it put a strain on our relationship, because there's pros and cons to working with your spouse, but we very much were at each other's throats because we were just personally stressed with the whole situation, especially when we're being tied to client demands. So, people are like, hey, I've got 4 pallets showing up. I need those done today. Right. Or like first thing tomorrow. Like we dealt with a lot of clients that were like that, unfortunately. So looking at the trade-offs is really just the question of, is it going to cost my peace of mind? Because if it is, I'm not about it anymore. I've been in this thing for 9 years. I've done my fair share of 12 to 15 hour days and the hustle and grind mentality. You have to go through phases like that though. Like, we're getting ready to enter Q4. I'm going to be out in way more retail stores doing, because I love RA. That's my bread and butter. I love doing retail arbitrage. So going into the next phase of Q4, I'm going to sacrifice some time with my family because I need to go find these deals. I'm going to do a lot more sacrificing in this phase, as long as I can acknowledge that when that phase needs to be done, it is a clean cut slate, and then I can put focus back on personal time, family time. So I'm a big believer these days in focusing on which phase do you need to be in, not just let's hustle for the next year. I'm a big believer in taking mini breaks, at least, once a month, even if it's a day break away, just go out into a different town overnight or something like that. But I've been through my fair share of mental burnouts and breakdowns, so peace of mind is my absolute focus these days.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same kind of phase right now where I'm doing OA still, but I'm also doing influencer program. Influencer program is really starting to take off, and it's starting. I'm like, peace of mind with influencer program, like not having all this inventory tied up, not a lot of capital. I'm just like, and it's like starting to take off. So now I'm like kind of at that phase where it's like, you need to make a decision, like
for sure.
Do you want to blow this up and like keep going, but you leave a lot behind? Like my whole brand is, online arbitrage, a community tied to that. But so I'm always go back and forth with that, and it's just. Yeah, it's always hard to make a change. And I was watching your warehouse video, like closing it down. I was like, damn, like I remember that. Like it was like, oh yeah, like you just got to get rid of everything. And that's like the cleaning of it, like all the stuff you
much
had.
work.
It was so brutal. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I had somebody that messaged on that video. They're like, hey, how come you didn't just hire movers? I'm like, that's like $4,000.
Yeah.
And so, the wife and I, we had her dad's old truck is this 1987 250, just this old hunk of a beast. And we were taking that thing truckload after truckload over to the storage units. But it took like 4 months between shipping out all the leftover client stuff, moving our personal stuff to the storage units, the final sweep. It's a lot. People don't realize goes into it behind the scenes.
Yeah, for sure.
I was watching, you had talked about how you like basically ran this off of a bunch of leverage, and you decided, okay, I'm not going to do the leverage thing anymore, because as soon as this can get shut down, which everybody acts like it's impossible when it is possible. And nowadays, this has aged well, you saying this, obviously, like you see all these people getting shut down now, but you were like,
it's frustrating.
Yep. But you said it like it was over a year ago. I was saying the same stuff, and I'm like, no one's talking about this, and it's like coming up. And so you decided to scale down your credit or whatever. Walk me through that process a little bit, and like what made you come to that decision.
Yeah. So I was selling. So basically, I was on. I was doing the eBay to Amazon with used items. And I was like, I really want to scale this, but obviously I didn't want to list stuff. So I was sending used items to a prep center. They weren't testing them or anything, and just sending them FBA. And I made a combination of like a couple mistakes where I listed stuff on like a private label brand type thing, and I got a couple IB claims there. And then I also got a couple counterfeit claims from customers because I think they were mad with the condition that they ordered. Like number one, like customers don't understand that you can buy used items on Amazon in some ways. And then also if it's also broken because of my negligence, like that makes sense that they're mad. And it only takes a couple out of thousands of them to write counterfeit in the return, and you get several counterfeit claims. So I was in the yellow for like 6 months. And at that point I think I had a max of like 70,000 in credit card, like balances. I was doing some zero APR. I used payability for a couple months, which sucks. Payability sucks.
Another good thing in theory that doesn't pan out well.
Yeah, they like the rate's actually higher than what they say. It's a garbage company, but anyways, yeah. So it's like when you're $70,000 like over your head, and you don't have like like if I had to get suspended and I still had to pay that back, like that would have like I would have had to bankrupt at that point. So I was like, I don't want to live with this over my head. So like, let's see if I could just run this on cash. So I downgraded for a while. I let a lot of stuff sell through. Um, in the meantime, I was buying like higher ROI stuff so that I could be still running a store that made money. Um, just like eliminating some of that 30, 40, 50% ROI stuff that just like was mediocre stuff. I was just going to send the good stuff in. As I was downgrading, eventually, like I was running on cash at like 30, 40K a month in sales, and then kind of kept building from there and like have been cash ever since. I definitely like strongly recommend that if you're doing any kind of risky business model whatsoever, like I think the leverage days should be like a not forever thing, you
Yeah,
know?
I
Yeah.
agree, man. Yeah, it's crazy. You guys had talked about it. You were kind of, the guy was saying that, I guess your friend was saying that, well, this is the thing that gets me the biggest return, so I'm going to keep dumping money into it. And then you're like, well, eventually you're going to realize, like, when do you stop dumping the money? And you can't just have your whole net worth rotating every month in this thing. That's like what I came to the conclusion of. I get like a $120,000 credit card bill. I'm like, this is like damn near all the money I have right now every month. And then all the rest of
Yeah.
it is in inventory. So it's like, what am I doing here? Like, all it takes is a little flip and I'm poor. Like, I just went from being like this young guy that's making all this money to like poor out of nowhere. My thing was I just ended up quitting. I quit like at the end of last year, like beginning of this year. I didn't think to like scale down and stuff just because I wanted to do other stuff. But obviously
Yeah.
that's like a smarter route to go about. Like, how do I downsize this and make sure it's like extremely, extremely healthy? So if I can scale it up, it doesn't become like a massive nuisance on my back.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think there's a right answer to like, do you need to stay in Amazon or do you need to just like do something else? Like some people call it shiny object syndrome, but like some people are just like better at other things. And like honestly, like if I were to like ask myself, would I rather have the aptitude to be really good at content and like courses and marketing and stuff like that, or Amazon? I would probably take the courses and social media because that's like it's just like a really good money making vehicle. I just don't think I have the aptitude and desire to do that. So I'm just like, I'm gonna make Amazon work. Like if I get suspended, I'll sell on Walmart and I'll figure out another Amazon account. And like goodness, I'll sell on eBay before I do like other stuff. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with it.
No, I get it. Yeah, it was such a hard decision to make. Like, I talked to so many people and I don't know what, like, there were so many things that brought me to the conclusion, but I just thought about, like, I want, like, to be really, really rich. And I was like, this just is going to be so hard to get you there. Like, just like, you can't make like millions and millions of dollars on these, like being a reseller or whatever, which maybe there is. I'm not trying to say it's not possible. When I say this stuff, people always are like, well, this guy, it's like, okay, I get it. That one guy, but like, it's just hard. So yeah, that was the whole conclusion of it. But
I wish we
Yeah.
had some stats on that. Like yeah, for sure. Like there's like obviously it's the like 0.5%, like top 0.5%, like saying like, yeah, I make 100K profit a month reselling. Um, but then I think like, okay, there's plenty of social media people who are like crushing it in their like businesses. But like, what's the percentage breakdown like between the two fields? Like, I don't know. And then it's not even two fields. There's like 100 different fields of both sides.
Yeah, I think what it really breaks down to is like how liquid is that 100K profit, right?
Yeah.
Because in inventory labs you made 100K, but like if that's all going back into inventory, right? Like, yeah, you made
Yeah,
100K.
if you make 100K, but you're paying yourself like 65K a month,
Yeah, that's
like
different.
I'd say that's a success.
yeah,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
most are not. Yeah. See, I talked to a lot of big sellers, like guys that are actually big, like $20 million, $25 million a year. Just ran into them like through Discords and stuff. And they were all like really stressed out. And then, or they were just extremely smart and like very like I get why they can do it. They could have built like a really big company no matter what. They just happen to be in the Amazon game. And if they weren't just extremely smart, like good at the numbers, good at the systems and stuff, they were just like, dude, I'm so scared right now. I have like a $2 million on a credit card bill. That's like way different than having like, you know, 50, 100 scares me. I couldn't imagine like a $2 million, like across your credit cards and loans. It's like, dude, that's like really, really tough, especially when the business is not like you're not working towards some big exitable asset. So like, you know, a lot of stuff you can sell and it's like you sold $1, but you really sold like $7 in like, you know, value there. This stuff's like you sell $1, you get $1. Like that's all it is. So yeah, it's scary when you think about the really big businesses, I guess.
Yeah, especially when you're doing that on low ROI as well. Like combining the two things is like, yeah, that's why you can't sleep at night. Like, makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like somebody compared it to like poker. You know, you're kind of gambling. All business online is kind of like gambling a little bit. You're always looking for like a big moment, big breakthrough, but like you gotta know when to take your chips off the table too. Like how much money are you comfortable with, whatever. Like we had that guy on the book guy, which you interviewed him too. What's his name?
Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
The used book guy.
Yeah, I loved his perspective. He's like, dude, I sell 10K a month. I make 6K a month. I don't care. I'm not growing. I was like, man, that's like the healthiest mental state you could ever be in. It's like, I'm cool with this. I work 20 hours. What do you work? I'm like, shit, way more than that. So yeah, it makes sense.
The hard thing, like I wish I could be like that. And like I know like I'd get like okay, he works 20 hours a week, but he also like does social media. So like he's honestly the same as what I was about to say. Like I don't think I could just work 20 hours a week. Like before we did Amazon, like we probably all played video games and we probably all played video games more than 20 hours a week. Like there's something in us that likes to create and like gather and like do really well at something. And we don't want to just do that for 15 hours a week. Like it's boring.
Yeah. I think when I think back to like the happiest, most fulfilled times of my life, I'm working a lot. Like I'm stressed out in the moment. I'm like, this sucks. I don't want to work. But then you look back and you're like, you are pretty like fulfilled. You go to sleep every night like, damn, I just got a lot done. That type of stuff. So be tough for me too. But I guess he's just that personality that's like, I'm going to commit this to this. I'm going to commit this to this. And he got a family too. So, you know, you got to spread your time around there.
Yeah.
Well, starting with a little basic Amazon question is, so John was telling me you've scaled back a bit. So like, what's your thought process there? I watched one of your recent YouTube videos. I'm like, man, everybody's kind of coming to the same conclusion, but you can put it your own way.
No, yeah, I'm noticing that too. I'm seeing a lot of sellers who are just scaling back. A lot of them won't come out about it, but I don't mind about it, you know, because at the end of the day, it's my life. So, but yeah, I mean, there's like I said on that one video that I did drop. So every beginning of the year, I always like to reflect back on, you know, how the business did the year previously. And that's every single year, you know, not just this year, but like last year, the year before. Like last year when I was like trying to restructure the business, I wanted to get out of OA and get more into wholesale. And that's what I ended up doing last year. And this year too, I wanted to step back because, you know, I had like an issue back in Q4 of last year where I spent like 20,000 on one particular ASIN because it was moving so fast. So I was just buying from my supplier week after week. But it was that issue out there, that little obstacle that kind of had me thinking more like, you know, this was just an expiration date issue that a customer filed a complaint against us. So Amazon wasn't, you know, to take the listing down from us for a bit because we had to prove that it wasn't expired and all this crap. But that issue also had me thinking like, damn, that was just, you know, one listing. You know, what would have happened if that was my entire business model too, you know? And yeah, so at the beginning of the year, I was just like, man, I got like, here's one thing that people don't know about me because I really don't talk about it, but I have 6 kids and a wife. So I got a big family. So to me, I'm like, if that was my entire business, I couldn't live with myself like that, just relying on solely Amazon, knowing I have this much of a family, right? And so to me, I was like, yeah, I kind of want to step back, pivot into some other stuff. That way, something ever does happen, then I kind of have something more to fall back on. Maybe I've built it up already by that certain point, and then FBA would just kind of be a side thing at that point. But yeah, it was just that obstacle right there that really had me thinking twice about really wanting to scale this business model further and further, because to go more further means taking out more credit, more loans, and me with such a big family, I'm not willing to take that big of a risk and have all that debt on me should something ever happen. So that's my main point on that.
No, I think it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. I think a lot of people come to that, and I'm only 26 years old, about to turn 26, but like I feel like I have the same mindset of like, well, I'm not going to throw away everything I've done like
Right.
out of my control. When it's like you see these 19-year-old, 20-year-old dudes, like who gives a fuck, man? Like go for it. It's like, dude, like I get it. I was like that too, but eventually you got to look back and think, okay, I'm not really building anything here. I'm just have
Yeah.
this like cash flow thing, and how much cash flow is it even generated? Because I have to put in so much money and I only take out so much. And I definitely get where you're coming from. You have a what's your next transition? Are you like looking at anything else?
Yeah, so recently I've been working on the Amazon Influencer program. So that's one program that I've been working on for like a few months now, maybe 3 months max. Also getting more into like the UGC side of that particular model as well. So yeah, just trying different things really at the moment.
Are you do you speak Spanish? I noted
Yeah.
Martinez. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing, man. The Spanish TikTok stuff. I don't know if you're on that yet or not, but I've heard that shit is killing it. Like supplements,
Yeah.
Spanish supplements. Yeah, and
I've
that's
heard.
like me. I was just talking to John about this yesterday. When there's something that has a barrier to entry, like I can't enter that market. I mean, maybe AI would let me a little bit, but
Right.
like I can't like speak Spanish, you know. So that when you have a barrier to entry like that, you're way better off. Because with like Amazon, though, a big problem with that is anyone can do it at any time.
Yeah.
You just have to be 18. You don't even have to be 18. You can use somebody
Yeah.
else's account. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Have you got have you got into that in a little bit?
TikTok, nah, I haven't really messed with the TikTok part yet. I've just never been a fan of TikTok, but I have heard about like the shop affiliate and all of that stuff. So yeah, I am planning on making an account though, hopefully by the weekend, honestly, because I've been caught up doing like all the AIP stuff and UGC stuff. So goal is to get that set up already too and really start building that up.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, for sure. What do you like most about kind of like the Amazon influencer program? I mean, I'm pretty heavy into it. Yesterday, I actually had an amazing day and closed like $400 in brand deals.
Holy shit!
And I'm actually sitting on this chair. This chair is like $300. They sent it to me for free. And they're gonna pay me, and they're paying $150 for a video on it. So my life is definitely a lot different the day to day now.
Yeah.
So kind of what do you? I don't know. We actually talked like 3 weeks ago for like 3 hours about this, but like,
Yeah.
kind of what kind of things are you looking forward to for AIP versus kind of FBA?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you hear about business models where you kind of don't do much, but you also make money on the back end. It's almost impossible to believe it until you actually see it and do it. And honestly, there's nothing bad I can really say about this program. Like, for number one, there's no overhead. Like,
Yeah.
I pay for like one software that's $30 a month, versus with like
Mhm.
FBA, I was spending like close to 2,000 a month with like BA software and
Mhm.
employees, all that stuff. Another thing too is like you put work up front on a few videos, and then you really never have to touch those videos again. Unlike you just leave it, put it on passive income mode, and you just collect the paycheck honestly from that. Uh, Also too, it's just the amount of stress and time that I'm putting into influencer versus like FBA is way low compared to FBA. So like with FBA, you're almost on a day-to-day basis, checking your yellow bars, seeing what's sold, seeing what needs repricing, seeing if your employee needs help, or just anything like that, right? Whereas with like the influencer UGC side, I check my phone. It's almost like I have to force myself to check my phone to see if there's anything new, because there isn't, but I'm still collecting money on there. So it's
Yeah.
more like laid back. It's kind of weird because it frees up so much time that you almost don't know what to do with that extra time now compared to like FBA, where it kind of kept you more busy on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, for sure. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's actually like the opposite. So for the influencer, they don't have orange bars. They have, I think they're green bars, but
Yeah.
there's no app for it. Like, so there is an app, it's tied to your Amazon account, but it only updates once.
Yep.
So it's usually like, I get up early, but it's usually like 6 or 7 in the morning where mine like tends to update. And then there's no like refresh. It's just like what you did the prior day, and then That's it. So like you don't lose any time like checking all that kind of stuff too. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, I feel like that is kind of the biggest thing about it. And what I like too, what a lot of people don't, I don't know, I thought it was stupid. I also thought like selling on Amazon was stupid when I first started. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. And like so like AIP really didn't make any sense to me because like you just make videos, you don't even buy inventory or anything like that.
Yep.
But yeah, once I did it, I was like, all right, like this is starting to take off. It's just crazy to me because you're also like, yeah, you can get deplatformed or like if you
Yeah.
share the screenshots and stuff like that, you can. But it's like if you got kicked off, it sucks. But you're not out any money. They don't have your inventory. They have like 1,000, 1,500 videos, and yeah, it sucks. You're not getting paid on that. But it's not like you're 100 grand in debt and trying to get inventory where you don't even know where it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, do you have like a schedule you do with videos? Or like how many do you try to do a day? You know, like do you try to make 10, 20, whatever?
Yeah, so when we first really wanted to go dive deep into it, we did at least 500 videos in a month, if not probably even a little bit more, which is quite a bit. Like if you
It's a
know,
lot.
like if you're in this model, you kind of know how much that is to do in such short amount of time. But ever since then, and we did that too because the kids were going back to school. We wanted to take full advantage of the free time that we had. But now that they're back at school and whatnot, it's a little bit harder. So I try to do at least 5 videos a day if possible. And so like that, I'm being consistent with that. So I try to do 5 AIP videos a day, and then at least 1 UGC video of some products that I have a day as well. So that way I'm just trying to stay consistent with it.
What do you mean exactly when you just talk about the UGC stuff, like in comparison to the Amazon influencer?
Yeah, so Amazon influencer, you make videos of products, do reviews, you post them specifically on Amazon, and you get commission just from the Amazon platform. Whereas UGC, you're doing the same thing, making videos, somewhat of a review. You're kind of more being like salesy of like buying a product or checking a product, and then you're like doing these for brands specifically though. Like it's not just for Amazon. You reach out to brands like KitchenMaid, Colgate, or just whatever brands are out there, and they pay you to do a video. $300, $250, whatever it may be. So there's a little bit difference in both.
Oh, sweet. How much can you say how much you're making? Or I know John says it's like tough to say that, right?
With AIP,
Yeah.
yeah. So it varies. My first month I made like $5. My second month I made like 500. Third month I made like 1,000 or so. Then last month I made like 1,300. This month probably around the same, and then I'm hoping on Q4 to kind of make up more for it as far as like with the influencer program.
Yeah, and it probably trends the same way as regular Amazon, what do you think, for Q4? There's more volume, right? You guys are going to get more sales. Well, I'm curious both your all's thoughts on this. Like, how big do you think realistically that you can scale it to? And I know you can probably get it massive. People say you can make $1 million a year on Amazon, but no one's doing that shit. So, what's like what do you think's like the dream outcome from like how much do you think you can make a month from it? You can go first, John, or Oscar, either way.
Yeah, you can go, John.
So for me, I don't know, it's hard. I only have 8 months worth of data, but I mean, my commissions keep going up. They're pretty steady for the most part. I think all the money, the commissions, it's weird. So I feel like this is just Amazon in general. It's like you can make money on the platform. Obviously, we all do it.
Right.
But the real money is made off the platform. Coaching, leads list, software, all that other stuff. And I see AIP. Obviously, there's an arm of that where there are supposedly like in the mom community, there's already a lot of courses, but like in the FBA kind of people space, there's maybe about 3 courses I'm aware of. I'm sure there'll be more. But I see the biggest arm is going to be brand deals. Like yesterday, I had $400. Like, and one of them is going to be a retainer. They're going to pay every month. They're going to send product, and I'm going to get this every month. I mean, like this chair, for example, like $150. It took 10 minutes to put together. Like, I actually really like it. It's super comfortable. And then like it just got my wheels turning. I'm like, wow, $150. Like, how many ASINs would you have to find? Right? And like, you'd have like, and for it to be like, this is $150 no matter what. Right? It's not, the price isn't tanking, like we're not negotiating, like it's not commission based, like it's just like, hey, you make this video, we're gonna give you $150. So I see that to be the biggest thing. And then on top of that, I think I'm looking into like kind of TikTok shop as well. I have like 300 or 400 products down here that like I've gotten from Creator Connections.
Wow.
And yeah, like, so I'm just like, I'm maybe probably just gonna make a TikTok video on each of these and just see what happens, and hopefully be able to grow the account. I've heard people say you could spend like $150 and it'll get you like the 4,000 followers or whatever you need on there. So I started the account. I still have to like fill it out and everything, but I don't know. Like, it seems like way too crazy, way too good to be true. But for me, I used to work in influencer marketing, like shit, like 10 years ago. And brands were paying huge money then for like stay-at-home moms to write blog posts.
Wow.
And that was 10 years ago. So, I mean, this has been going on forever.
Yep.
And I don't know. I think the sky's the limit. I mean, again, like you're not as much at Amazon's mercy either. Even if my AIP got shut down, like I could still be doing brand deals and post that stuff on TikTok, like my YouTube page, a website, like anything else. So I think it's less. And a lot of the supposedly UGC deals, you just make the videos and send to them. Like they run the ads, they do all the shit. So like you could easily make a ton of money doing that. So I think that's where a lot of the money will come from.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as my goal, like with this and everything, I do plan at least making 10,000 a month minimum, at least. Eventually doing all this. I think if I can get to that spot, I'll be pretty okay with it. I know with AIP, reaching that 20, 30K months like that, it might be pretty long term. I mean, I'm willing to do it, but yeah, at least for now, if I can get to 10K, I'll be pretty okay with that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking, I was talking to John about this too. I think which I don't understand this AIP thing. Maybe I just need to get on this and just because everybody on the pod talks about it. But like my thing was that with the TikTok shop, you can make massive amounts of money really fast. So like if you make a viral video, you can make literally like 50K in a week, 50K in a week and a half or whatever, which is like, from my understanding, not really replicable the same way with Amazon influencer or a brand deal, unless you get big enough to where a brand will pay you 50K, which people do that, but that's like big ass influencers. But I think that's where like the big opportunity is. Like once you got it on autopilot, you have your brand deals coming in. If you can figure out how to make the viral content, like you can kind of make your yearly salary on 2 videos. You go viral, 15 million views, you drive all this traffic for a brand. Now you're rocking. And I don't know if you guys have seen this or not either, but these brands are coming out with like incentives where if you drive 50K in revenue to the brand, they'll buy you a MacBook, or 100K, they'll buy you whatever. And then it's like, if you drive over $1 million, they'll buy you a Cybertruck or give you like a 50 grand cash thing. Yeah. Like crazy stuff like that. If you start getting the TikTok shop on Twitter, you'll see it. Like I saw a kid the other day, he made 75 grand last month from just commissions on TikTok shop.
I see that stuff, but I just don't know if it's like true or not because I'm not like in that TikTok, community. So I'm just like, maybe they're lying or something, but it's hard to tell, honestly.
Yeah, definitely I could see some people blowing smoke up your ass about it, but I think that a lot of these guys like are pretty transparent. It's like storefront stalking. You can kind of go see, the videos they're making. Like, it's not like they're super anonymous. So you can kind of see like, oh, he did get 12 million views. Like, yeah, it's going to drive some revenue. That's like a shitload of views,
Yeah. Definitely got to check that out then.
Your name is different. So what incited this change? Although I think on the last pod, you did say you're like 30% and now I suppose a lot more than that.
Yeah. So Walmart's booming, man. We love Walmart. It's just hard enough so that the idiots can't jump on easily. And, it's just easy enough so that if, you kind of have a little bit of spidey sense, if you've sold some stuff, then, you can make bets, without, it does, one of the biggest challenges is there's not a lot of data. And so you kind of just have to like check your gut, like, well, we'll see what this does, and so that's done pretty well for us. So we're probably like 60-70% Walmart and the rest Amazon. We've had a couple months since the name change where Walmart, where Amazon, there's a bolo or there's, some kind of, jump in sales for, on that side. But our main focus is just grinding out Walmart.
What are the numbers you're putting up these days on there?
So we average like 25 to 35. I think we've had one where we were in the 40s on Walmart, and then on the Amazon side, just wherever it goes. I think we'll finish below 20 this month on Amazon, and the majority of that's retail arbitrage. We're looking for the home run, stuff that you can only get walking into stores. And so it's a lot more work, but hey, I got 6 kids to feed and so and a mortgage. So so I'm into the active income scene, and it is very, very active.
For sure. What about the margins? What does the margins look like there?
Yeah, so I just hired a bookkeeper. Thanks to John. Thanks for talking me through some of that.
Yeah, of course.
We I don't really know, and it's bothersome that, like, used to I would be like, well, it's somewhere in the blah 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 percentage. Honestly, now that we're kind of pulling all our numbers, I have no idea. We're making money. I know I'm paying myself, and we're positive cash flow. And that's nice. An average product like 40% ROI. Some of the stuff we're finding is 300, 400% ROI, and those are real sexy. But at the end of the day, I'm not sure. Which is a terrible answer. So don't model your business bookkeeping habits after me.
No, but I feel like that is healthy. If you could like pay yourself and take money out and still cash flow, that's usually, a good sign. And you'll see once you get the bookkeeper, it is eye-opening. Like if you look at inventory labs or whatever you're using, that number, you could probably cut that in half, maybe. Just depending, because it accounts for everything.
Yeah, you start putting in the real numbers, and it's like, well, yeah, but what about this expense? And it's like, I don't really want to talk about that. I think some positive things, that I'm excited about are, like I said, we're cash flow positive, which is good. But also our inventory is growing, and that's exciting to me. Like it seems counterintuitive, like you would want your inventory to be going down, but like a lot of the stuff we're buying. We shop at. I'll say the name of the store, even though the Ollie's mob is going to come after me. They don't want you talking about it publicly, but we do a good bit of Ollie's. Freaking love Ollie's. Good stuff, cheap. And so you go in and they got one truck of freaking Guatemalan coffee, just say, and it's like really, really good. But that every other Ollie's in the freaking country just got a pallet of Guatemalan coffee too, and so you kind of have to play the game. And so our strategy is we try to. Everybody says you need to be first in or last out. We're trying to be first in and last out. So we're RA as fast as possible, getting it into WFS, and then trying to get sales going. But then we're also putting, half or, I don't really have a formula. I just kind of eyeball it. But, some portion of that we're putting away for when nobody has it anymore. And so that's kind of our strategy is, we want to be the last person selling Guatemalan coffee for the ungodly reseller markup, and that's our part of our strategy too.
Yeah, I feel like nobody's talking about this Walmart thing very much. Like people do, but it's definitely not caught on. Like I guess like everybody I've heard talk about it makes more money on that than Amazon, but it's like maybe that's the reason people aren't talking about it. I guess
there are more people saying shh. Like I get when I start talking about Walmart, more people are saying that than about other stuff that I talk about, and it's definitely there's definitely like a private, quiet side, to it. And, I started a whole Discord about it. So like, I can't, I don't get to not talk about, that would be, crappy on my side. But, really, you take an average Amazon seasonal flip, like looking at right here, I have a pile of these plush toys that are Halloween themed, and it's a popular cartoon. I can tell you, it's going to be $10 more on Walmart. And so we're sending them in both. We're going to send them to Amazon and Walmart just because we want to sell more of them. But the money's better on Walmart. If you can figure it out, inbound shipping's better. There's no placement fees. There's no splits. Some people are seeing splits on the inbound shipments, but the way I do it, I just do it box by box. And I've never had not even one split. And inbound shipping is pretty cheap. And then the hardest part is people just don't know how many to send, or they're unsure. They're uncertain about. I don't know. They want to keep it to rest their head on at night, and we just don't have it yet for Walmart. Which means that the people who aren't worried about having a Keepa to rest your head on, I have friends who are richer than me that are sending in 200, 300 units of stuff at a time. And, that's not my game yet, but they're sure about it, and they don't have a Keepa. And so it's possible to make those big bets with Walmart too.
Yeah, I think people probably don't recognize the fact that less tools and stuff like that is better for a platform. Like the reason that Amazon is the way it has been trending is because there's 9,000 tools. There's 9,000 people teaching it. Like
Yep.
that obviously makes things hard. But when there's something that not a lot of people are teaching, not a lot of people are having tools for it, when it's more unknown, that's like where the money is, which it sounds like this type of situation.
That's where we're at. I mean, that's exactly what we're doing. The dummies haven't, they haven't come over really yet, and maybe I'm part of the problem. Maybe I should, I don't know. It's not in my nature though. I'm not really, I make content, and I make videos every single day for the internet, and I feel like I'm gonna make one or two connections with somebody that it's really really gonna change their life. And my thought process is I came from poverty. If I have someone that is trying to grind it out on Amazon, they can't figure it out, and then they see a piece of my content, and then it just sparks them being able to have a ton of success with what's working with me. I feel really good about that. Also, Gary Vee said make content, so I've been making content for years now. So shout out Gary Vee.
What do you got, John?
Yeah, no, that's really exciting to hear about Walmart. We actually just was Rake in the last one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was the last one. He's really interested in kind of looking into Walmart and trying that based on kind of the Amazon squeeze, and we were talking about that. And I
He's
think
doing the eBay thing, right?
Yeah, he does eBay, so eBay to Amazon.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
Yeah, what you were saying, and I think what Drew was saying, there's just so many tools and so much information on Amazon, and I think kind of what Walmart was A to A flips, and now there's like courses on A to A flips, and probably everyone doing kind of that same A to A flip. So now that's gone. The next thing that goes is going to be Keepa filters and stuff like that. So the more and more stuff that gets put out there, it just gets worse and worse, or harder to get an edge anyway.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I think it's just gonna get harder. Inventory costs are gonna go up, but that's not what kills the resellers. What kills the resellers is the cost of reselling, which is your inbound shipping, your outbound shipping, fees, placement fees. Amazon has so many sellers, they don't give a crap. They're like, yeah, I mean, think about what happened this year. They're like, we're going to give you a whole new fee. But why? Well, just because, with the placement fee bullcrap. And everybody was pissed for like 7 minutes. And now everybody's just like, yeah, you just got to account for the new Amazon fee, because Jeff Bezos needs another, whatever. It's going to continue. I wouldn't be surprised if they double down on that fee. And in the next 24 months, instead of us accounting for 80 cents a pound to do business with FBA, we're going to be accounting for $1.50, or, like who knows where it goes. And the truth is WFS will follow as soon as they feasibly can. As soon as Walmart can, they will impose placement fees and other, bullshit fees with this or that or who knows what. And, it's the squeeze. If you don't like it, go get on a Shopify store and drive your own traffic. You don't want to do that. That sucks. So